Out of all the mysteries surrounding the world of Peppa Pig, one of the biggest mysteries has to do with Suzy Sheep's dad, who's completely missing. Do you know where Suzy's father might have come from or where he could be locked away? One of the darkest theories about Suzy's dad is that he might be in jail for doing something wrong. Could Suzy's dad have been a pirate? There are some characters in the series who wear a ship anchor symbol on their clothing. They are Grandpa Pig, Grandpa Rabbit, Captain Dog, and surprisingly, Suzy. In the episode The Future, we see Peppa's friend wearing pajamas with a big anchor symbol right in the center. But does that even make sense? In Peppa's world, characters who wear an anchor usually have some kind of connection to the sea. Everyone else on that list is a sailor, but Suzy isn't. So could this be a clue that Mr. Sheep is actually locked up somewhere? And maybe Suzy's anchor pajamas have something to do with her dad? The answer to this and more is what we're diving into right now. You're watching another Cinewave. The whole mystery around Suzy's dad began when Grandma Sheep moved in with her granddaughter. That's when we found out only 3 people live in that house: the mom, the daughter, and the grandma. In the episode where Suzy is supposed to move far away, there's a really emotional scene. It happens when Mrs. Sheep loses her shot at a new job. And even though everyone's happy to stay in town, Suzy's mom is clearly upset. She didn't want to live in that town anymore, and it's probably because she wanted to leave behind all the memories of her husband, who's no longer alive. You might remember that in the Father's Day episode, the whole storyline focuses on Daddy Pig and Peppa's family. The reason is simple. The show didn't want to show what was going on at Suzy's house. That's because her family was grieving. Suzy's dad has passed away, and she never talks about him because it's a very sensitive subject the whole family still struggles with. That's exactly why Suzy dreams of becoming a nurse. She mentions it in the episode When I Grow Up and also in The Future. Her dream probably came from wanting to take care of her dad, but she never got the chance. And now, sadly, it's too late. One of the lighter theories about Suzy's dad is that he was never actually married to Mrs. Sheep. He might have just been her boyfriend in the past, but they broke up and went their separate ways. We get a clue about this in the episode where Grandma Sheep moves in with her daughter and granddaughter. There are several scenes inside Suzy's house, and it's strange that there isn't a single photo of Mr. Sheep on the walls. If Suzy's dad had simply divorced her mom, then Suzy could visit him now and then, right? But that never happens. The other option is that he passed away, and if that's the case, there should be at least one picture of him somewhere in the house. But again, we never see one. So the only explanation is that Suzy never met her father. That's why she never talks about him or has any photos of him around. Back in the day, Mrs. Sheep probably dated someone. They were together for a while, and then she decided to raise Suzy on her own. Maybe it's because the guy wasn't a good person. But the truth behind that is something the show might still reveal someday. What do you think of this theory? Another theory that might actually be the real story is that Mrs. Sheep never had a husband, or even a boyfriend. Maybe she doesn't know who Suzy's dad is at all. As we've said before, Suzy doesn't have any photos of her dad and never brings him up, which doesn't make any sense unless the family truly doesn't know who he is. There are many real-life moms who choose to have children through fertility treatments, and that could also be the case here. This theory suggests that Mrs. Sheep went to a doctor and chose to have a baby on her own. In these cases, the father is just someone who donated to the hospital anonymously. That could explain a lot. Mrs. Sheep wouldn't have any pictures of the dad because when babies are conceived this way, the donor's identity is kept secret. Suzy might never meet her father, and that's really sad. Maybe he'll show up in a special Father's Day episode someday. Do you have lots of pictures with your parents and family? Drop a hashtag photo in the comments so we can get to know you better. The wildest theory about Suzy is that she might actually be a clone, and that's why she doesn't have a dad. Let's break this down, because there's a lot to think about here. Male sheep, rams, have never once appeared in the show, not even when Peppa's family visited big cities like London, New York, or Paris. Suzy's family only includes female sheep: Grandma, Mom, Suzy herself, and cousin Charlotte. So if there are no male sheep in the series, where did the female ones come from? The answer is pretty obvious. They're all clones. In the real world, sheep have already been cloned. The most famous one was Dolly the sheep, who, fun fact, came from Scotland, the same island where England is located, which is exactly where Peppa Pig takes place. So why does Suzy exist? Probably because in Peppa's world, sheep are used for selling wool, and wool is important all over the globe. So of course they'd need a lot of sheep. Remember Suzy's anchor pajamas? That symbol is actually proof of who might be behind the cloning of Suzy and her whole family: Grandpa Rabbit. Let's not forget this character is over 100 years old and is portrayed as a genius. The Rabbit family owns tons of shops all over the world, and what if they had an endless supply of wool-producing sheep? That would be a business gold mine. What if Mr. Sheep is actually a top-secret super spy? Believe it or not, this could be real. As you probably know, Peppa Pig takes place in England, and the show often reflects British culture. One example is the pumpkin pie they serve at Thanksgiving dinner for Aunt Dottie, or the fact that the cars have steering wheels on the left side. But there's one reference that still hasn't shown up in Peppa's world. You've definitely heard of the world's most famous spy, 007. Susie doesn't know her dad, never talks about him, has no pictures of him, and no ram has ever appeared in the show. So yeah, it's a huge mystery where Susie actually comes from. That's why it's not far-fetched to think there's some secret behind all this. Let's remember, sheep are animals that live in large groups, all following the orders of a shepherd. So maybe the rams in Peppa Pig are part of some invisible army working under the Queen's orders. Susie's dad might be a hidden character, always working behind the scenes to protect not just his family, but the entire world. What if Susie's dad has actually been there the whole time, but no one has ever seen him because he's the narrator of the show? Let's break this down. Susie is the only character in the whole series who has an imaginary friend that only she can hear, Leo. All of Susie's friends think she's weird because of this and believe she made up the invisible friend. But what if it's the other way around? What if Leo is a real character that only Susie can hear? If Susie's dad is someone who can talk to her all the time, maybe he's actually the narrator of the series. He watches the lives of everyone in town, especially Peppa and his daughter, who are always playing together. But how would that work? The first possibility is that he passed away, and that's why he can see everything, like a ghost. The second possibility is that he really is a top spy working for the Queen, keeping an eye on how everyone in Peppa's town is living. The third theory is that he's not married to Mrs. Sheep anymore, and that's why she has full custody of Susie. So now he watches from a distance because he wants to see his daughter grow up. In the episode The Future, we find out that Susie wants to be a nurse or a doctor. She even drew a picture of herself wearing a nurse's outfit and hung it on her bedroom wall. In other words, she knows her dad is sick. That's why this character has never appeared on the show, because he's in the hospital far away on the other side of the world. That's also why Mrs. Sheep wanted to move away, to be closer to him. In that same episode, Susie says she wants to fly planes, so she's dreaming of going somewhere far away as a nurse or doctor. Clearly, she really wants to take care of her sick father. Could that be the reason why there are no rams in the series? Are they all sick and hidden somewhere? You don't need to fly a plane to take a trip into the world of imagination. Just hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. What if we've already seen Susie's dad, and it's Mr. Goat, the character who lives in Italy with his daughter Gabriella? He works at the Italian holiday house. But wait, he's a goat, not a ram. True, but it's totally possible for these animals to have babies together. Mr. Goat is a single dad, which means he could totally be Susie's father, and maybe Susie has a half-sister who's a goat. And when the couple split up, each parent raised one child. Just imagine how amazing it would be if they reunited in a future episode. What if Susie's dad is actually a super rich Mr. Sheep living on the other side of the world, spending all his money? There are a few clues that might support this theory. First, when Mrs. Sheep was getting ready to leave town, she was upset about losing a job because she had always wanted to work. But what if she never actually needed to work, because Susie's dad pays for everything? One piece of evidence is the gift he bought for Susie. That super expensive frisbee with lights and music from the episode shows that Susie really has the best of everything. If Mrs. Sheep doesn't work, then someone has to be covering the bills, and it's probably Mr. Sheep, who has a lot of money. Now let's talk about the most realistic theory. Susie's parents are just divorced. Her dad might live in another city, and Susie could visit him sometimes. Maybe the place where Mrs. Sheep wanted to move is actually where her ex lives. That way she'd be closer to him, and it would help them raise Susie together. All of this makes way more sense than some of the wild theories Peppa Pig fans have come up with online, don't you think? Here's what we think. You should stick around with us forever. That's why we've picked 2 more awesome videos for you to enjoy. See you in the next one.